Welcome to the strategic assessment of the ethical, social, cultural and environmental responsibility strategic choices relating to Iluka resources in Sierra Leone. This assessment will look at four key areas: the ethical, social, cultural and environmental responsibility issues, or a sustainability approach. Iluka Resources is an international mineral sands company with expertise in the full value chain, from exploration through to rehabilitation. Its core objective is to deliver sustainable value by leveraging off the company's 60 years of mineral sands industry experience. The company is the largest producer of zircon and rutile globally and a major producer of synthetic rutile. At the heart of Iluka is the Iluka Plan. The Iluka Plan has four key elements: a purpose, a core, values and direction. Iluka's sustainability approach to business involves six key pillars: health and safety, people, social performance, environment, governance and integrity, and economic responsibility. In 2016, Iluka Resources acquired Sierra Rutile. Sierra Rutile is one of Sierra Leone's oldest and most prominent companies. In 2019, Iluka and the International Finance Corporation, which is part of the World Bank Group, entered into a strategic partnership for Sierra Rutile. Sierra Leone is on the southwest coast of West Africa. It has a population of approximately 8 million people. It has a history of civil war and infighting, but has managed to achieve a stable government post-UN peacekeeping presence. The government priorities include development, creating jobs, and removing a culture of corruption. In Sierra Leone, the majority of population live in poverty with low levels of education and poor health standards. This can be seen by a mass Ebola outbreak in 2014 to 2016. The environment has very high levels of deforestation for commercial cropping and a history of overfishing. There's an abundance of natural resources which is drawing attention from international investors. In analysing the mineral sands ecosystem, there's a few key enabling platforms from marketing through to logistics. This is generally self-performed. The key value chain activities include exploration through to rehabilitation, and again, this is predominantly internally performed. The mineral sands market comprises of four major sellers, with Iluka representing approximately 30% of the zircon market and 50% of the high-grade titanium or rutile market. The threat of substitutes is low and the threat of new entrants is low. Of the buyers, approximately 70% is through China and approximately 25% through Europe, Middle East, Africa and India. In analysing the Sierra Leone macroeconomic environment, politically there's a stable government that's promoting growth and the reduction of corruption and bribery. Economic-wise, the GDP is fairly stable, as well as interest rates. Culturally, there's low wages, which could do with improvement, but there's also gender diversity which needs addressing. Technology-wise, there's very little supporting infrastructure and a very slow take-up of new technologies. Legally, Sierra Leone is comparable to other foreign investments with some incentives for mining exploration activities. Environment-wise, there's a lot of deforestation and very poor practices on rehabilitation and land management. In analysing the external environment for Sierra Leone, four key opportunities have been identified: the ability for Iluka to leverage off its corporate knowledge, government incentives for mining activities, the increased scope for future investments, and corporate governance driving best practice in the country. Four key threats were also identified: the availability of skilled labour, new entrants into the Sierra Leone mining market, integrated culture of bribery and corruption, and unrest between local chiefdoms or villages. Iluka's strategy to address ethical responsibility issues has 8 key areas: ethics and conduct, transparency and disclosure, risk management, economic contribution, financial performance, supply chain management, geopolitical landscape, and innovation and growth. The strategy to address social responsibility issues has 6 key areas: developing and retaining employees, labour and working conditions, fatality prevention, minimising injuries, exposure to occupational illness, and community health. Iluka's strategy to addressing cultural responsibility issues has 5 key areas: stakeholder engagement, human rights and modern slavery, social impact management, resettlement, Indigenous relations and cultural heritage. The strategy to address environmental responsibility issues has 8 key areas: rehabilitation and closure, waste and material management, energy and climate change, land use optimisation, biodiversity, water stewardship and water use, environmental incidents, and product stewardship. Iluka has stated some case studies or examples of responsibility strategic execution in its sustainability report. Ethically, there's the IFC Gender Task Force and sustainable procurement. Socially, there's partnerships for health and well-being, as well as health and well-being initiatives. Culturally, there's technical and leadership training and local employment programs. Environmentally, there's shared sustainable practices as well as rehabilitation practices. In analysing the Sierra Leone external environment as well as opportunities and threats and Iluka's strategy to addressing responsibility issues, some key changes have been recommended. Ethically is bribery, corruption education and gender diversity programs. Socially, it's health and well-being as well as education through the chiefdoms or villages. Culturally, training programs need to link to education and needs to be further continued effective stakeholder engagement. Environmentally, optimised land use is key and optimised rehabilitation selection.